am Tashwan Tyson, in with you over in the news package for today, Wednesday, 2nd October 2019. In our lead stories, nationally, SKN's youth to benefit from the improved operationalization of the Child Justice Act, and St. Kitts and Nevis to enhance livestock sector. Regionally, a topsy twist in the death of Anguilla hotel worker allegedly killed by UBS banker. Internationally, Bernie Sanders cancels campaign events for artery blockage surgery. And in sports, injury forces Elaine Thompson's withdrawal from World Championships. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wrong.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. St. Kitts and Nevis' youth will soon benefit from the improved operationalization of the Child Justice Act. This comes on the heels of a visit from consultant Ms. Lucy Dawes, who traveled to the Federation to meet with officers of the Probation and Child Protection Department, PCPS, the Department of Social Services on Nevis, and other stakeholders during a 2-week period from September 2nd to the 13th. To assist them in the putting in place the changes required by the Child Justice Act. Ms. Dawes noted that while the Act was passed in 2013, many of its tenets still needed to be instituted in the day-to-day management of young offenders. Acting Director of the Probation and Child Protection Services Department and participant of the workshop, Mr. Gerald Connor, discussed that the department was seeking to partner with the local agencies, clubs, and youth organizations to explore what options existed for children to be rehabilitated after an offense. The Act, which was passed in St. Kitts and Nevis in 2013, replaced the Juvenile Justice Act, which set the age at which children could be charged and convicted for an offense beginning at 8. The Child Justice Act 2013 increases the age of criminal responsibility to age 12 and includes more child-friendly measures, such as outlining how youth offenders between the ages of 12 to 18 are to be best assessed. A group of small-scale butchers and farmers from St. Kitts and Nevis are being trained in specialized meat cuts and production of processed meats such as ham, sausages, and burgers to enhance the livestock sector in this Caribbean nation. The workshop that ran from September 23rd to October 2nd aimed at helping St. Kitts and Nevis obtain greater income from livestock, so supermarkets and the general householders can buy local products and reduce imports, as well as enhance food security in the country. Participants would have also learned the principles to meat cutting and handling to follow HACCP standards. A total of 15 butchers were trained in the theoretical and practical aspects of value-added products and hazard analysis and critical control point, HACCP, and internationally recognized system for reducing the risk of safety hazards in food. The training included whole carcass processing, fabricating legs, shoulders, chops and shanks, and also how to process hams, sausages, and burgers. The workshop is sponsored by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA, with support from the Ministry of Agriculture of St. Kitts and Nevis. Deputy Director of Marine Resources here in Nevis, Mr. Lemuel Pemberton, is urging the public to help preserve the marine life, in particular the hawksbill turtles, following a report of one of those turtles being found dead in the Cades Bay area. Mr. Pemberton told the VON Newsline that the incident perhaps occurred Monday night, September 30th, or Tuesday night, October 1st. Mr. Pemberton explains the situation.
Previously, we had gotten a report about a month ago, actually, of another dead turtle in the same area. And we could see the fresh tracks of the turtle and noticed that it was freshly killed. Around the turtle, there are a lot of dog tracks, so we suspect this turtle was killed by dogs. And it's quite possible the other one was also killed by dogs. The head has been almost severed completely, and the head of the other one was severed completely by the time we got the information regarding the fact that it was on the beach. So as a point of interest and information for persons who like them to cease and desist from taking dogs on the beach, if they do have to do so, make sure that the dogs are on a leash, make sure that dogs in the area are securely tethered.
The Marine Resources Regulations state that, among others, no person shall A. disturb, remove from the fishery waters, expose for sale, purchase or at any time have in his possession any turtle eggs, B. remove from the fishery waters, expose for sale, sell, purchase or at any time have in his possession any undersized turtle, and C. interfere with any turtle nest or any turtle that is nesting.
This is an unfortunate incident, and the owners could be charged with about a $5,000 fee for disturbing a nesting turtle, as it is their dog that would have done that kind of act and animal that is in their control. So we hope that there will be no repeat of this unfortunate incident in the future, and that people will control their dogs and not allow them to go out and attack the turtles and kill them on the beaches of the US.
Deputy Director of Marine Resources here in Nevis, Mr. Lemuel Pemberton. Should the system that makes billionaires still exist? That was a question put to the Let's Talk panel for discussion on October 1st, 2019. And this discussion was sparked by a panel discussion on the BBC on September 2019 on the topic, what are the reasons behind the rise in global inequality? Heavyweight panelist Mr. Edric Stanley commented on the involvement of billionaires in countries like Africa.
It is really repugnant for them to be operating in Africa specifically, and the countries of Africa have not imposed governmental policies on them for them to pay their fair share of tax.
The system in focus includes tax exemptions that are advertised to the wealthy investors and large corporations to attract them to various countries. This thereby facilitates the creation of jobs and the introduction of more money into that country's economy. And this approach is utilized in many countries around the world, including the Caribbean. Mr. Stanley indicated that this system is not necessary, and he further elaborated why wealthy billionaires should willingly give away their money.
I guarantee you, if you were to take all the wealth from these people, in 5 years, because of their aptitude, because of their experience, their know-how, their ingenuity, in 5 years, that money comes right back to them because they know exactly what to do. And it has been proven.
A suggestion made on the BBC's panel discussion to distribute the riches of the wealthy was to increase wealth taxes. However, Let's Talk host Mr. Everett Weber Herbert and Minister Spencer Brand cast doubt on the idea.
The problem, though, I may have, Weber, is who is going to control that money.
I made a note here for you.
Yes, that is giving me the extra gray here. Who is going to control it? How it's going to be distributed? And that is the area that I think that may create some
That's the $1 million question.
That's the $1 million
because one of the areas they were focusing on as well is corruption.
Yes.
And a lot of the issues is not whether or not a nation has wealth. The magical questions that was asked that I noted was, what do you do with the money?
Yeah.
Mr. Everett Weber Herbert and Minister Spencer Brand. The U.S. naval ship USNS Comfort will arrive in St. Kitts and be docked at the Deepwater Harbor, Bird Rock on Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. That's according to the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority's CASPA. USNS Comfort is a Mercy-class hospital ship or floating medical treatment facility. As part of the visit to the Federation, a health mission will be conducted from October 5th, 2019 to October 10th, 2019, which will be done under the auspices of the United States Embassy in Barbados. This is part of the U.S. Southern Command's Enduring Promise Initiative and is also a humanitarian mission with two components. 1, a land-based medical mission, and 2, a ship-based surgical mission. The medical mission includes the provision of health care at the two following land-based medical sites, namely the Antioch Baptist Church grounds, Limekiln, besides the NEMA headquarters and St. Paul's Community Center, both of which are in St. Kitts. Therefore, persons from St. Kitts and Nevis are invited to access care at these two medical sites from October 5th, 2019 to October 10th, 2019 from 9 a.m. through to 3 p.m. daily. The U.S. naval ship Comfort is expected to depart our shores on Saturday, October 12th, 2019. In more national news.
Nevis, and by extension the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, has lost who was the oldest living human being in Miss Cillian Martin Powell from Zion Village in Gingerland.
Minister of Social Development and Area Representative of St. George's, Gingerland, the Honorable Eric Evelyn. Miss Cillian Martin Powell passed away on Monday, September 30th, 2019. Born on January 19th, 1912, she celebrated her 107th birthday on January 19th, 2019. She was a resident of the Flamboyant Nursing Home. The Honorable Eric Evelyn, who in his capacity would normally visit the Flamboyant Home in celebration of Seniors Month, extended his condolences and those on behalf of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to the family of Miss Cillian Martin Powell. Miss Powell is the grandmother of the former junior minister in the Nevis Island Administration, Carlisle Powell, and the great-grandmother of Nevisian and West Indian cricketer Karen Powell. Prime Minister Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris's monthly press conference will be held on Thursday, 3rd October. At the forum, the Prime Minister will update citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis on matters of national interest. The conference begins at 3 p.m. and it will be held at the Parliamentary Lounge at Government Headquarters in St. Kitts. Members of the local press corps will attend the forum and ask questions for the listening and viewing public. The last conference was held on July 2nd, 2019. And finally, Minister of Agriculture in St. Kitts, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, is in Belize officiating as chairman of the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism at meetings in that island territory. Minister Hamilton left the Federation on Sunday, September 29th, and was accompanied by Director of Marine Resources, Mr. Mark Williams. On Tuesday, the 9th special meeting of the Ministerial Council, which began at 9 a.m., discussed a 15-item agenda which included such topics as aquaculture, IIEU fishing, WTO, WECA FAC, reorientation process. In his opening remarks, Minister Hamilton reminded his ministerial colleagues that meeting at CARICOM's chief decision makers of regional fishing policy was a unique opportunity to positively influence the quality of life of fishers and consumers, as well as to ensure the sustainability of the region's major source of protein. The second meeting, which was held today, Wednesday, October 2nd, was a joint meeting of the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, CRFM, and Central American Fisheries and Agriculture Organization, OSPESCA. That's the national news segment. You can visit the website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Life can be more fulfilling when we take the time out to smell the roses. And that's why your friends and family at the Bank of Nevis are experts at picking the flowers that best describe you. Whether you're planning to treat yourself after a long work week or finally getting around to that closet update, you deserve all the special things that life has to offer, and the Bond Visa card is here to help you achieve it. With just a swipe, you can turn a last-minute lunch date with friends and family into something worth remembering, with memories that will last a lifetime. Pampering yourself just got a whole lot easier, and after all, you deserve every refreshing moment of it. The ability to make your travel arrangements at your own convenience, whether by sea or by air, now rests within the palm of your hand. With a single swipe, the Bond Visa card can put a world of difference between life and truly living. Whereas the only limit you may have is your own imagination. Apply today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Out of Angola. A resort worker allegedly killed in a struggle with a Connecticut banker had so much cocaine in his system he was essentially walking dead, a revised autopsy report shows, page6.com says. Henry Mitchell, 27, did not die from injuries he sustained in the April 13 fight with Scott Hapgood, but instead perished from the lethal dose of coke in his bloodstream, according to the report obtained by the New York Times. The September 3rd report, which was read by Dr. Stephen King, says acute cocaine toxicity could have been a potentially independent cause of death in the known circumstances. Hapgood, 44, was charged with manslaughter in the case after a coroner ruled Mitchell had been asphyxiated during the struggle. The revised autopsy report, which was based on Mitchell's recently released toxicology test, shows he was essentially already dying when he walked into Hapgood's suite at the 5-star Maliohana Hotel the day of the brawl. The Hapgood family claim Mitchell showed up unannounced to their room with a knife and demanded money, forcing the UBS financial advisor to defend himself and his young daughters. They said their dream vacation turned into a chilling nightmare and a literal fight to survive that left Hapgood with serious injuries. The toxicology test released last month showed Mitchell was on coke, tested positive for traces of marijuana, and had a blood alcohol content of 0.18 when he died. Hapgood returned to Angola last month for a series of hearings which were adjourned until November 11th. Out of Antigua. Officials from the Mount St. John's Medical Center, MSJMC, have expressed concern about what appears to be an increase in breast cancer among women who are in the reproductive years. During an interview on Observer, MSJMC's medical director, Dr. Albert Duncan, said that a specific cross-section of the female population is developing the disease. According to the Antiguan Observer, Dr. Duncan said there seems to be an increase in breast cancer around people of childbearing age, people that are pregnant, and people that had just had babies. These are all the things that make young cancers a little more problematic. Meantime, still in Antigua. After spending several weeks at the hospital, Dominican Jahim Azu is finally home. Azu was given a 50% chance of survival after about 5 boys attacked him on several weeks ago. He suffered a broken jaw, nose, bleeding from his brain, and all his bottom teeth were knocked out. But now that the 17-year-old is home, his family is left with a medical bill that surpasses $50,000. The police to date have arrested and charged 2 minors with assault with intent to commit murder and have said that there were no indications that there were indeed 5 boys who attacked and injured Azu. The victim and his mother, however, maintain their claim that it was 5 boys. The strict borrowing rules of Guyana's National Resource Fund Act, the law engendering a framework for Guyana's offshore sovereign wealth fund, could cause Guyana to increase external borrowing in order to handle increased spending pressures. According to KaiserNewsOnline.com, public debt may get to a point where it grows unsustainably while the National Resource Fund accumulates if a medium-term anchor that is consistent with withdrawal rules is not facilitated. This was suggested by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in a report on its 19th article for consultation in Guyana. In that document, Guyana's development partner commended the passage of the act, noting that it was a critical step forward for the effective management of Guyana's oil wealth. However, it urges government to enhance the fiscal framework the act sets out. Under Article 4 of the IMF's Articles of Agreement, the IMF holds bilateral discussions with members, usually every year. A staff team visits the country, collects economic and financial information, and discusses with officials the country's economic developments and policies. On return to headquarters, the staff prepares a report which forms the basis for discussion by the executive board. They then summarize the views of the executive directors into a report and transmit some of the country's authorities to aid in proper governance. That's it for regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. The 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, 78, has cancelled campaign events until further notice after undergoing surgery. Mr. Sanders was treated in hospital for an arterial blockage after experiencing chest pain at an event in Nevada on Tuesday. An advisor for the Vermont senator said he was in good spirits and will be resting over the next few days. Mr. Sanders had earlier announced his campaign had raised over $25 million. Senior advisor Jeff Weaver said in a statement, following medical evaluation and testing, he was found to have a blockage in one artery and 2 stents were successfully inserted. Mr. Weaver said Mr. Sanders is conversing and in good spirits and will be resting up over the next few days. A stent is a small mesh tube used to help keep arteries open. Receiving stents is a minimally invasive procedure, typically with a short recovery time, the U.S. National Heart, Lung and Blood Institute says. It is unclear how long Mr. Sanders will need to recover from his surgery and whether it will affect his appearance in the next Democratic debate on October 15th. Polls show Mr. Sanders is third in the Democratic race behind Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and former Vice President Joe Biden. Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, the wife of Britain's Prince Harry, has started legal proceedings against the Mail on Sunday newspaper over the publication of a private letter that her lawyers said was unlawful. In a lengthy emotional statement, Prince Harry said on Tuesday that the couple had taken legal action in response to what he called bullying by some sections of the British press. Though this action may not be the safe one, it is the right one, he said. My deepest fear is history repeating itself. I've seen what happens when someone I love is commoditized to the point that they are no longer treated or seen as a real person. His mother, Princess Diana, became one of the most photographed women on the planet after she married into the British royal family. She died in a car crash in Paris in 1997 after being followed through the streets by photographers. Her funeral was watched by hundreds of millions of people around the world. The UK government's final Brexit proposals will include customs checks on the island of Ireland. The BBC's Laura Cousenberg said the PM Boris Johnson's plan will see Northern Ireland in a different relationship with the EU to the rest of the UK. The BBC's Robert Watson reports.
Boris Johnson repeatedly cited his party's slogan for the week, Get Brexit Done. To that end, he said he was making the European Union a final offer, take it or leave it. His offer is essentially to minimise new customs and regulatory checks between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic, but only for a time-limited period. There was a rather subdued atmosphere in the hall, though delegates clearly liked his talk of Brexit as an opportunity to reboot the UK, despite the lack of detail.
And finally, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has accused Democrats of bullying his staff as a part of an impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump. Democrats are investigating whether President Trump improperly pressured Ukraine's leader for personal gain. They have been issuing summonses as part of the inquiry, which centers on a phone call between the two. The phone call sparked a formal complaint from a whistleblower, which in turn led to formal impeachment proceedings beginning. A rough transcript emerged last week indicating Mr. Trump urged the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to investigate discredited allegations against former Vice President Joe Biden, a 2020 Democratic frontrunner, and Mr. Biden's son. On Monday, it emerged that Mr. Pompeo was present during the Ukraine call. That's it for news segments. The latest in sports is next.
Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Welcome back, and now the sports in detail. In athletics, Jamaica's double Olympic sprint champion Elaine Thompson has been pulled from the remainder of the IAAF World Athletic Championships by a coach Stephen Francis because of an existing injury that returned during the 100 meters. Thompson, who was a personal best of 10.70 seconds, never looked her usual explosive self and placed fourth in the 100 meters in 10.93 seconds behind teammate Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, who won in 10.71 seconds. After the event, Thompson mentioned that she was not comfortable but did not want to blame her injury, and as such, returned for the 200 meters heat, where she placed second in 22.61 seconds. She, however, could not face the starter for her semi-final yesterday. Jamaica Observer quoted her as saying, "This is not the end I had hoped for given all the hard work and preparation leading up to the World Championships." Meanwhile, Coach Francis pointed out that the niggling injury is not directly to the Achilles, but instead another part of her body that causes a domino effect of her Achilles. Meanwhile, still in athletics, American Noah Lyles capped off a marvelous season with victory in the World 200-meter final in 19.83 seconds, but Briton Adam Gemili narrowly missed out on a medal. Gemili led coming off the bend, but was picked off by the American, Canada's Andre de Grasse, who took silver, and Alex Quinones. In more athletics, Dina Asher-Smith showed no signs of fatigue from winning 100-meter silver as she ran the fastest time of the day to reach the 200-meter semi-finals at the World Championships. The 23-year-old Briton, who claimed her first major global medal on Monday, won her heat in 22.32 seconds. Compatriots Jody Williams and Beth Dobbin also reached today's semis. In the men's 200 meters, Britain's Adam Gemili took a place in the final, but Zanel Hughes missed out. Olympic champion Elaine Thompson advanced in the women's event, but former bronze medalist Blessing Okagbare was disqualified. That disqualification, plus the withdrawal of 100-meter bronze medalist Marie-Josée Tallot, has boosted Asher-Smith's hope in an event that was already without Dutch defending champion Daphne Skippers and 100-meter champion Shelly Ann Fraser-Price of Jamaica. Asher-Smith is ranked number 1 in this event this season and is the odds-on favorite to win her first global outdoor title. And finally, in cricket, West Indies opening batsman Craig Brathwaite has been found to have illegal bowling action. Brathwaite, who has 18 test wickets in 58 matches with his part-time off-spin, was reported during the Windies' recent 2-0 home test series defeat by India. He was assessed in Loughborough on September 14, and the amount of elbow extension for all his deliveries was within the 15-degree level permitted. Brathwaite, 26, made his test debut in 2011 and has scored 8 centuries. 6 of his 18 test wickets came in a remarkable spell of 6 for 29 against Sri Lanka in Colombo in 2015. 2 years later, his action was reported after the first test against England at Edgbaston, but another independent assessment at Loughborough less than a fortnight later found his action to be legitimate. That's it for sports. The General Weather Report is next. Welcome back. Another local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 30% or low chance of showers. Winds are southeast at 7 to 19 kilometers per hour or 4 to 10 knots. Seas are 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:01 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the Media News package for today, Wednesday, 2nd October 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, SKN's youth to benefit from the improved operationalization of the Child Justice Act. And St. Kitts and Nevis to enhance livestock sector. Regionally, autopsy twist in death of Angolan hotel worker allegedly killed by UBS banker. Internationally, Bernie Sanders cancels campaign events for artery blockage surgery. And in sports, Injury forces Elaine Thompson's withdrawal from World Championships. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashan Tyson, wishing you